Have you ever had a nightmare when you were a teacher in a classroom that you couldn't control, where nothing you did worked, where the kids were out of order and you didn't know what to do about it, and you couldn't do anything about it? Every teacher's had that feeling at times. And often, just before school starts, a teacher has that kind of a nightmare and wakes up exhausted and discouraged. While you may think about it at different times, there are always certain things that happen in that dream. First of all, kids aren't listening. They're talking and they're out of order. They may be singing or dancing or even rolling on the floor. Secondly, they're not doing their work. They're not even trying or attempting. You're always relieved to wake up and come to the real world. But sometimes, in some classrooms, the real world is that way. Reality turns into a nightmare when children aren't ready to learn and that classroom isn't under control. We're going to show you such a classroom where, in spite of what the teacher's doing, things aren't working. Now, it's not that way all day long. There are parts of the day that are just fine, but too much of the day goes to unproductive, disorderly behavior, and an exhausted teacher and unhappy children go home after school. Now, not only aren't these children learning, but they're having a difficult time developing a good self-concept. A self-concept is based on a feeling of competence, and when you don't learn, you're not feeling competent. And self-concept is based on a feeling of self-worth. And when you're not acting well, and when the teacher's having to scold and be cross, you just don't feel worthy. Let's take a look at such a classroom.
That's not your choice. Uh-oh, Phil. After lunch. Reading, drama, hang on to one.
What's called again?
So let's make our little F taller. Even though that's perfect, that capital is. But little F's got to be little. Not enough work.
Play above, baby. Girl, I just want. I can sing I Got You Like Joe Tech. Oh, I got you.
Not right now. We're doing handwriting. You don't have to stand up again. Just stop talking. Young man, you better sit down. We've lost another minute. Ladies, you better sit down.
As soon as I feel my last one.
Go sit down now, thank you. Felicia, I'm asking for the last time. Anthony, we're waiting for you to sit down. All right, we wait now for Dawn. All right, Kevin, will you get the ball? I'm waiting for Dawn and Anthony. Stop that.
Stop ball him.
Anthony, sit down, please!
Put him away. Sit down, spook.
Get in the room, everybody. We've got to do it over again. All boys and girls, go sit down right now. Every one of you. We are going to go sit down right now. We are all going to go sit down right now.
Be quiet, Joe.
What do you do with a class that is in disorder so much of the time? Too often a teacher's given such generalizations as make the class more interesting, give the children more choices, be more strict. Well, that's all very well and good. It doesn't tell her what to do tomorrow morning. So we decided to come down from our ivory-towered theory and put one of our lab school teachers in that classroom to translate the theory into practice. We had no right to expect a teacher to do something that we couldn't bring off ourselves. So we put one of our teachers in that classroom. He was scared to death. Now, he was a competent teacher. He was a good teacher educator, but never before had he taken over a classroom where, since September, those children had been practicing this kind of behavior, and already it was March. We proceeded on two assumptions. One, that if you expect children to do learning tasks, they must have the skills to do them. And so his job was to teach them those skills so they'd be able to complete their work and feel competent as a result of it. The second assumption was that we were going to accentuate the positive. He was going to use positive reinforcement, and he was going to pay attention to things that were going well, do something about a child who was finishing, who was behaving, rather than only doing something about a child who wasn't. He was going to use social reinforcers of words from the teacher, notes to parents, phone calls to parents, even sending the child to the principal with a good note, which was a real about-face for them. Extra privileges, dismissal a few minutes early. All of these things were going to happen when children were doing the right thing. Now, when they weren't doing the right thing, he was going to try to ignore them, to use the principle of extinction, and not make a big deal out of something that wasn't that important. But when he couldn't ignore it, when he needed to do something about it, then he was going to use the principles of negative reinforcement. And for negative reinforcers, he might keep a person in to finish his work. He might occasionally, he only sent 3, but occasionally send a child to the principal. Or if he called a parent, he was sure to always follow up that call with productive words to say what the child was doing well. Now, those first days were awful. The very first day was a real nightmare for him. I saw him at the end of the day, and he looked like he'd been hit by a locomotive. The second day, he spent all of his time stopping fights, getting children in their seats. They didn't mind him. They didn't like him. The third day began to be a little bit better, where he was trying to get children to do work. And we're going to show you what it looked like the fourth day. It was far from perfect. He was still having trouble, but things were beginning to work. Let's look at it.
Those people that really did a good job all day yesterday, I gave them a note saying something about how well they had done. And I also made a chart. And so for yesterday, those people who got notes have got the little red star by their name. I'm going to start a list. There were people who came in right on time and started right in with a book or working on their folder without needing any help from me, and they were on time. And so this is the start of the list of people who will be on the honor roll for today. Some people who aren't on here yet may still get on here, as I see they're really working well. Some people that are on here now may not be by the end of the day. Great, you're really working hard. You're doing a nice job. Okay, that's good word. That's good sentence. Was that like an assignment? Well, better get going. All right, start at the top of the page. Start reading it.
Start out which day?
Just start, right now. Yeah, let him read. Start at the top of the page, Neville. Right there. Hurry up. Well, step outside the door and stay there, please.
What is that for? up to the guy.
You gotta get it done. I can't let you go out if you don't. Mark, same for you. You only go out if you get it finished.
Oh.
Boys and girls. 1, 2, 3. Okay, Ren, Tracy, and Mark. Tracy, come on, look up here. Dina, Kara. I'm going to give you some directions about PE. If you're ready, I can give them to you. Sit up and look up there.
Okie dokie.
We're not going to have time for PE if we don't get ready real quick.
Cool that bang on the gum.
James? I'm going to ask everybody to put their things on their table, stand behind your chair, and I'll dismiss you as soon as you're ready.
Look at that.
All right, everybody sit down. Sit down. The more you keep talking or talking like this, the longer you're going to stay. And there's one over here. That counts too. Okay, let go. Mark. You're continuing to talk across here. You don't need to
You cut them things. Be quiet, down. Them things. Shut up, Lord. Shut up, over here. Look what he's doing under our tape. Look at that.
You are
Gotta put that down there. You have to be quiet. You can jump up here.
All right, will everybody please stand behind their chairs? Girls, will you go ahead and line up, please? When you people are quiet and ready to go, then I'll take you out. Yes, their materials down. They're sitting up. Then we'll get ready for PE. Okay, thank you.
I'm not in Stephanie!
Althea, are you finished yet?
As you can see, this teacher with all his skill is still having trouble. In fact, the children are having almost as much trouble getting ready for physical education as they ever have. But now they're beginning to live in a predictable world. They know what's expected of them, they know how to do it, and they know they're going to get rewards of being praised, being on the honor roll, and so forth when they do it. They know they're going to be held accountable, have to stay in and finish if they don't do it. But it's a very, very difficult job. These kinds of changes just don't happen overnight. This teacher continued to work with this class, work hard to get them to work with him, to get them to begin to do some of the things that would make them feel competent, make them feel worthy, make them feel respected. He continued to phone parents and let them know when their children were doing well. In fact, one parent that he phoned said, "It's the first time I've ever heard anything nice about my girl." He continued to do all the things that were necessary to try to help this class get itself together so that they could be a group of happy, competent learners. He worked hard for the next 2 weeks, and it was beginning to change, but it still wasn't perfect. We'll see how the work can now begin to get more difficult because the children know how to do it. We can see that more freedom can be given in the classroom. Children can get up and sharpen their pencil. Children can go get a piece of paper because they still are able to control themselves while they're doing it. But the teacher still can't relax and have fun with the children. All the time he's working, his eyes are moving like a radar screen to be sure that everything is going to stay in order and we can proceed with a good day of schooling. Let's look at what's going on 2 weeks later in this classroom.
What character? 9 plus 3 equals... Okay. Well, there's some people in the circle are doing awful job too. You people are doing a beautiful job this morning of getting ready to go after a weekend of being away from school. Don't spoil it. James, you're doing a good job. Monica, put your book away, please. Okay. This morning, I'm going to give you a little bit harder language assignment. Because these are all going to be sentences that need to have a comma in them. But I haven't written all the words before we get to the comma. And Kathy, if you need to move around where you can see, that's okay. In the first one, I wrote all the words you need up to the comma. If I had a horse, and then you put the comma in and finish the sentence. On this next one, I didn't finish all the words to the comma. After I... I'll give you a chance to come up with some ideas. After I... And then don't forget your comma, and then finish it up. Now that's going to make it harder. Let's see if we can get some examples. Raise your hand without saying anything, and I'll call on some people to say, what would you put just to the comma? Not finishing the whole thing, but just to the comma. Right, okay. Now, you got to do this one over again then, too, because of the same thing. Right. That one is, yeah. You're off to a good start. Now, let's see. Right, those two are right. Let's see, that one is right. That one's right. Great, you're on the ball. People in Mark's group, you're going to have about 3-4 more minutes to work, and then I'm going to call you up for just a short time with the circle. Oh, an addition equation.
Addition equation.
You should have that down next. And then you should have... No. How many sets are there?
3 sets of 10. 4 equals 12.
That's right. Now do the same thing for number 2 with 4 bags with 2 pieces of 10 in each one.
I'm already on my first one. I'm on my second. So what? You only have 6 apples.
If I take a rubber band off and put these down here as loose sticks, please leave the curtains alone. Show me how many 10s I have, how many bundles of 10, and how many loose 1s there should be. You just cross out and mark up that one number you already wrote down. There are still 34 sticks, but I've changed it so it looks different. I want you to change it on your paper so it looks different. How many bundles of 10 do I have now?
2.
Don't erase it. You're going to cross it out. Okay, look up here. Before you had 3 bundles of 10. Get your paper. And you had 4 loose 1s. Now how many bundles of 10 are there?
2.
All right.
I got it. 5, 2, 4, 5.
Dana, do you need some paper?
I mean, 10, 20, 30, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45.
James, you need paper? Here. Dana?
Yeah. Hey, Joey.
Okay, here we go. Yeah. That's right, exactly right. Okay, I'm going to give you some more of these tomorrow, and we're going to do them real fast. You may give me your papers, go back and finish up. Let's see if you'll apply another star by how well you go back. Okay. Kevin, you've really been working hard. Don't tell me about it. I'll watch and I'll see it. Ren, you've been doing a great job. Felicia, are you finished? Completely done? Okay. All right, yeah, you can go ahead and make a choice now. Carol, you were doing a good job. You may sit down. Quietly. If you're going to run on down, then I'll have to keep you in. Wait a minute. When recess is over, I want you to be one of the first ones back in here.
Okay.
And ready to go to work.
Okay.
You're not quite finished, are you? If I were... That's right. You can stop there. Put your date on here. And then put them away. You can go out.
At the end of 3 weeks, this was quite a different class. The whole day wasn't perfect. There were still rough moments. But by and large, things were going very well, and children were happy. At the very first, they resented this strict man with the stern face with his checklist that kept them accountable for everything they were doing. Now they were beginning to feel so proud of themselves, and he now could relax and laugh and joke with them. So at the end of 3 weeks, rather than resenting him and wishing they had their old teacher back, they gave him a party as one of the nicest teachers they'd ever had. Now, while he was working in this classroom, the children's teacher was over at our lab school learning those same techniques of how to use positive reinforcement, how to ignore things that were too important, how to use negative reinforcement productively and not be demeaning to a child when it happened. And now we were faced with the problem of phasing her back into that classroom. At first, she observed, and then gradually the class was turned back over to her while the man teacher monitored in the back of the room to see that things went well. And the children had a very smooth transition from one teacher to another, where now their own teacher was using those very same techniques of an honor roll, of you did very well, of asking children to think. Let's look and see how that 4th week looked during the transition.
4, 7, 6,
And one more?
8, 7.
Good, you corrected yourself. You had the correct answer, but I want to go step by step, James. There are people that still don't know this.
I'm student, and I want to go back to my student.
All right, let's see. Neville may go if he's quiet. James may go if he's quiet. How are you? I think you better stay here, okay? Kevin may go if he's quiet. Alvin may go. Now, will you girls move up? If you're quiet. Take the folder back there. Gentlemen, you need to take your chairs.
Sit on my chair, please.
You were late getting up here. job. Okay. Where do we have to go? Where do I have to go if I can't take 5 and 4? Okay, what do I have to do? Okay, now, what's 1 from 1?
1 from 1.
Mm-hmm. All righty. Now, what's 1 from 2? Oh, that's, what's that number? You took away, how'd you do that? Good. Very good job.
Now we have a classroom where boys and girls are in charge of themselves most of the time, where their own teacher is back using the techniques that she's learned, where she now has time to work with groups of children and will be ready to take over by herself because she no longer needs the other teacher.
When some of you checked the honor roll, you see I added a few more stars this morning, and I told, who was it, Kevin?
Everything isn't just perfect, but now when work is finished, there's time for fun, time for teacher to enjoy children, time for them to display their talents, to dance their way out of a classroom that now they're not anxious to leave.
This is something I think that they need to have. I think it makes school fun to have some things that you like to do, you know, but I think you have to earn the right to do them, and I think they have to improve in their behavior to get a lot more of it. I don't allow too much of it, that's for sure, but it shows that they have talent, you know, and they have rhythm, they've got musical ability that they never show up in the music session of the formal lessons, so. But it's just fun. It's fun to let them let their hair down. It's like having a game when they're out there having fun on the playground.
We learned a lot from being in this classroom. We learned there's nothing more productive than good theory, but nothing is sterile until it's put into practice. We learned that when children are taught how to do tasks and then expected to do them, they feel competent. We learned that when they received social reinforcers, they felt worthy, they felt respected, and their whole school day was better. We didn't solve all the problems of education, but there were a lot more todays that were good days.